Action.
Hey guys.
Hey guys. So we have been getting countless number of questions about long distance, how we survived it, and kind of how we can help people with it. So
Yeah, I guess we've sort of been asked these questions, I guess, ever since I moved or even before that. Just people asking about long distance because it's pretty tough. It's not normal, I guess. It's not what a lot of people deal with, so...
Yeah. So I guess we'll kind of answer questions that people have sent us, and
yeah, we wrote
obviously
them down.
We do things differently. Every couple's different. It depends on so many different things. So this is just kind of what worked for us and how we managed to get through it.
Yeah, it's kind of... Everyone's going to be different. You're going to do things differently, but this is, I guess, how we did it, how we got through it, and it's probably, no way is right, no way is wrong, because, we struggled with a lot of things. We still had issues.
Yeah.
But it's just, I guess, how you deal with it and how you get through it together. And
takes two to do it.
Yeah, I think that's like the biggest takeaway is, you both have to work so hard. It's not just like, not one person can like take it all on themselves.
Yeah.
Or you can't, like if one of you's trying to make it happen and the other's not.
You have to both try really, really hard.
Yeah.
A lot of effort. Okay, so
anyway, we'll
first
get into
question.
It. How long were you long distance for? So I think...
Pretty much a year.
I think it was a bit over a year. So
yeah,
we met in April. Then I went home.
And then I visited him for the first time in...
Well, for those who haven't seen, we have a How We Met video down there. And so we met at Coachella, in contact, messaging, then FaceTime.
I would try to FaceTime him, and he would make up excuses because he was too scared to FaceTime me.
Well, I didn't ever FaceTime anybody, so
I FaceTime people all the time. So
for me, this is super strange because I was like, why do you want to FaceTime?
Oh, I'm busy, or I'll call you.
And then I'd have to like look all nice all the time, where because I'm trying to like impress her.
FaceTiming we worked on, but it got better.
But anyway, so then I guess we were like seeing each other.
Yeah.
But
so
without
I came to
actually seeing each other.
Yeah, so then I was like, this is enough. I'll come visit you. So then I came to Australia for the first time. I had never left the United States besides Mexico, so I kind of just was like, I'm coming to visit. He didn't really believe that I was coming.
So I thought like this was all like a funny joke, and she was telling me she was going to be at this place, and I was like, I don't know, like until...
Still showed up though.
Until... Yeah, she was actually there. Well, she had to call me from their phone.
Oh yeah, I called from like the phone in Australia. So then he was like, "Oh, okay, she's actually here." So we started, going back and forth in about like June, I think, of 2016. So then we did basically what we did is back and forth every.
Well, for that question, how long were we long distance for?
A year.
Yeah, or a bit over a year, I think. So then. Had we ever dealt with a long-distance relationship before that? No. Never.
Not anything to this magnitude of, like, different continents, but...
I had never, not even anyone outside of Canberra, so...
Yeah.
So it was all new.
Yeah. What was your relationship like at the start? How did you feel about long distance, and how do you feel now?
It was hard.
We were still... It's not like, we'd only really hung out for a couple days, and then besides that, it was like all just texting and video chatting, so we were still getting to know each other, but it's kind of hard to do that when you can't physically be with the person, so it was a lot of like...
And the time difference where, I'd be waking up when she's going to sleep, and then
yeah, I think it's around 7 to 8 hours, sometimes 9 hours, depending on daylight savings, so... Sometimes we'd be 9 hours difference in the day, so,
So then, like, I guess one of the things that we had to work on, and this is something that we chose to do, so this is, like, a big thing that made it work, was I'd get up sometimes at, like, 4 a.m.
Sometimes 2 a.m.
Like, 3 a.m., 4 a.m., like, crazy hours, just so that we could FaceTime for, like, an hour or two in the morning. Then I'd go to the gym, then I'd go to work, and then Jamie, would be going to sleep. So then, like, all during the day, we wouldn't, like, my days, we wouldn't really talk. Then she'd get up as I'm, like, getting home. So then we'd, like, FaceTime again.
And then sometimes he had, like, football practice or basketball practice, then we wouldn't talk all night because he would be at all his practices. So, you know, sometimes we would only get to talk a couple times a day. And so then I would stay up really late till midnight, 1, 2 a.m. and I would just like work or something just so that maybe we could FaceTime. And he'd be like, I'm on my way home. Please stay up. And then I'd be like, okay. And he'd FaceTime me and I'm like in bed, like, okay, good night. So, you know, just...
I think it was... Is it daylight savings or... The other,
I don't remember.
but there's a certain time. I'm not sure if it's
there's
daylight
like
savings
a
or something,
5-month period where it's like...
Where you're like closer, so...
Yeah, so it's like
so
7
like then,
hours or 5 hours.
Yeah, so then sometimes you'd be going to sleep at like my lunch. So then I'd still get up early, we'd talk in the mornings, but then we'd talk at lunchtime as well. And then when I got home, if I stayed up like later, then you'd be getting up. So then that time difference was like a lot easier because...
But we started our relationship in the longest time difference of like 9 hours or something crazy that like it was the hardest probably ever to try to talk. And we were both so busy and working and sports and all these things that we just really didn't talk that much. And it kind of gradually got better. So we kind of got through the hard part first, which doesn't really make sense, but...
But I guess what did I think about long distance? It sucked.
It sucked, but I will say the positive is we probably made more effort to talk than most people do, I think, just from past experiences and hearing other people, you know, their relationships. I feel like we really made a big effort to talk, or you ask questions because we're still getting to know each other, whereas you kind of learn things when you're around a person a lot, whereas we had to ask and like make a really big effort to like, you know, ask questions.
Another really good thing is when you finally get to see each other, it's like...
Oh my god, it was like the best thing ever.
And you have something to look forward to all the time. You're always like...
We had so many countdowns.
Yeah, we had countdowns going, and we'd always be like,
down to the second.
Like 16 days, like,
5 minutes. Yeah.
But I mean, then on the reverse of that, like saying goodbye was like always the hardest thing ever. And
so would I choose to do long distance again? No. But would I do it for you? Yes.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't wish it upon anybody.
Another thing that's really hard to deal with, or I found, is kind of like sometimes your like actual life takes like a standstill because you're like so into the relationship, so you're like, you know, we're FaceTiming all the time and doing that stuff, but then like your real life is still going on around. I mean, it's still your real life, but like, you know, things are going on around you, but you kind of like have to step back from that because you're like...
You're revolving your day around when you can talk to the person.
So like, it's difficult because like, then you start missing out on things around you because you want to talk all the time. Whereas like if you were in a normal relationship, you just both go together, or you know, or you could just, or we'd already spent time.
So it's like we would not go to things because we're like, oh well, he'll be up in a couple hours, and I want to make sure I could like FaceTime. Whereas like I don't want to go to something where my phone won't work or I can't answer or like.
Yeah, and then like, you know, being on a phone all the time is just exhausting.
Yeah, you're like this all day.
Like holding, like I'd lay in bed and I'd just be FaceTiming, or you know, I'd be like sitting in my car
get a good
at
arm
lunchtime.
workout.
Yeah, and you know, it's not like, as much as like I loved talking to her and like seeing her, and you know that.
It was more frustrating.
Yeah.
Than anything.
Then it just gets like difficult because you're like, oh, you know, I don't want to be on my phone, but I want to talk to her and I want to like see her. But then it's like, oh, like I wish we could have, because I can't, when you're like FaceTiming, you can't really do anything else.
Yeah, you can just sit there.
Yeah, so like, whereas like, you know, when we're hanging out, I can go off and do something or like whatever. It's like a lot different. So like, I think as like the times that we were apart, so like, you know, say we were apart for a month, at the start it's not so bad, but then as it starts getting towards the end of the month, you're like, oh my god, I'm just so over like being on my phone all the time.
Yeah.
But then it's like, then you get to see him, you know, it's
it
all
makes
worth it.
Yeah. It's such like a double-edged sword. Okay, next question.
Sorry,
we're very passionate about that one. How are you able to travel from LA to Australia so often? How did you get time off from work?
Okay, so I was working in IT. My boss was really good, and sort of, you know, I talked to him about the situation, and he was really understanding, so that helped a lot.
Yeah.
So I was able to use a lot of my leave, so I would...
Saved it up.
Yeah, so I would just use leave when I left, and actually took a lot of it at half paid, just so that I'd have more
like
time.
I'd come to visit, and I'm like, okay, go to work, and he's like, oh, I can't be away from you. No, it's okay. No, like take the day off. So like financially.
Yeah, well, so for me, so for my job, I was just able to take leave. Jamie works for herself, so
I could come visit easier than.
So like, and also she does, because she was doing modeling, blogging, she can work from anywhere.
Yeah, so I would come to Australia, which was good because it gave me the opportunity to work with Australian brands that I would have never really worked with, and so it sucked that I would come visit and then I'd be like, okay, well, you go to work and I'll drive to a shoot, and he's like, oh, but you're like here, but then you're working, and it was kind of hard to like.
Or like I'd go with her and then I'd just have to,
like sit there.
Or like help out with lighting or like something.
Oh yeah, he would hold reflectors at my shoots, so I mean, it kind of gave you a little insight on what your life would be like now. Just kidding. But
yeah, but then I guess that's like one of the big reasons why we decided, well, one day I was just like, you know what, like, she's coming over and we're, half of the time, like, because she had to, earn money to be able to afford the flights and that sort of stuff. So we're just like, you know what, like, why don't I just start taking the photos? Because I was taking a few on iPhones and whatever. And
oh, I wish I could show them.
Anyway, we were just kind of like, I was like over like going to the shoots and stuff. So I was like, you know what, like, why don't we just do it together, and then like we'll be able to travel together and do it. And so that's how that kind of started. And I guess
well, and also the flight from Australia and America back is like 14 hours and it's expensive, so whenever we were apart, we would work hard and try to save to make sure that it's like $1,500 flight, sometimes $2,000, so you have to really be able to save, and then I had to work while we were together because we would come visit each other for 2 weeks at a time because it was so expensive. You have to make it worth it, and so we'd end up working and spend the whole time, instead of like relaxing, we're like working to be able to afford to see each other. And
I guess another thing was like I was living with my parents, so like when Jamie came to visit, she would stay with at my parents' house with us. And then that meant, like, I wasn't paying rent, she wasn't having to pay for accommodation.
Yeah, so that helped a lot.
I had a car, so I could just drive around. And then when I went to LA, Jamie had a car, had a place, so I just stayed there. So that, like, was another big saving.
Yeah.
And then, eventually when I started coming over to LA, then I could just, like, help her out with work stuff.
What did your friends and family think? And when and why did you decide to move together? Friends and family. I mean, I think it was I think everyone kind of was like, oh yeah, okay, like you guys are dating, but I don't think anyone really like took it too seriously because until I think they really saw us kind of towards the 6-month mark where we're just like very invested, and I would cry all the time because it sucks like not seeing somebody. I know, it's fine now. But it was really hard. We need to take this part out. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, my friends thought it was cool because I was dating like this beautiful model from America.
Oh yeah, it was pretty cool to brag about dating someone.
And I could like
Australia.
Go back and forth between America and stuff, so that was like really cool. And my family were like, it was good because my family was supportive. And then, the first time Jamie came out to meet them all, they all like loved her. So
I mean, everyone was totally fine with it until we had to decide who would move where. And I guess that started becoming a question. Maybe 6-8 months in, everyone's kind of like, okay, well, we see that you guys are pretty serious, so who's moving where? Like, who needs to start, getting really upset? So that's one of the next questions was, how did we decide who was going to move where?
Yeah.
And so I guess...
Well...
Yeah, you go. I need to get it together.
I feel like, we talked about this a lot, and Jamie already had her own place, has 3 cats. And I guess
we just kind of made the decision.
Also, I wasn't, like, I didn't love my job. That wasn't, like, the career path that I felt like I was going to go down. So, it made more sense that we would move to LA where Jamie has a lot of job opportunities. And
it's always sunny.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Canberra's like cold half the year.
I will say, when Blake and I first started talking, right after Coachella, I was like, what? I remember kind of one night being upset, and I was like, what's the point of this? Like, we live in 2 different countries, and I remember him saying, I would move to America for you. And I was like, yeah, okay. And here we are.
Here we are.
He did it. But yeah, I mean, it made more sense. It was really, really hard, and I think his family...
I'm, like, really close with my family, and...
Really hard.
So that was probably the hardest. You know, my sister I'm really close with, and my mom and my dad. And
yeah. So it was pretty hard for him to move away from them.
Saying them was like...
Going from living with them to being on a long-distance relationship with them now. It's kind of, like, a really hard situation, but in the end, you know...
Yeah, and I think that's like probably one of the definitely worth it.
Yeah.
But you know, that's probably like one of the hardest things. And
what did you do to make your relationship feel closer? I mean, we kind of already answered that. We FaceTimed a lot. We'd
do nice things for each other. Actually, one of the big things was like, I sent roses like to Jamie a lot, and she was traveling to Europe.
I went to Europe for a month, so no way. I need to tell this story. Okay. So I was like, Europe's an even harder time difference, and so I was like, I'm not gonna be able to talk to him. I don't have service. I have to be on Wi-Fi every once in a while, and I kind of just knew I wasn't gonna be able to talk a lot. So I spent a couple weeks, and I wrote a letter, 31 I think letters, and I individually made them into a little envelope, and I did them in different colors, and I labeled them day 1 through day 30 or 31, and then I shipped them to him. And I sprayed them all with my perfume. I went to town on these letters. And some of them were like questions he needed to text me that day, or, you know, I don't even know, random stuff. So I sent them over in a box. And so then every day he would film himself opening the letter if I wasn't able to talk to him that day or anything. So fast forward, I'm done with Europe, and then he...
Well, no, this is what I was going to say.
Here's the other end.
While she was in Europe, I got her address and sent her flowers.
Oh, he sent me flowers in Germany. All of a sudden, I just get like a hee text from him, and I'm like, what? And then like someone's trying to get into the building I'm staying at, and they have this like thing of flowers, so I like went and did a big photo shoot with the flowers so that like he could have the photos. But anyway, so then when you came to visit me after that, literally the day I got home, he flew in the next morning because like we couldn't be apart. So he had taken a photo of himself with every single letter.
Yeah, every day I opened one.
And he printed them all out. So now I have like photos of him with each letter for every day. So
I had to like go to the place where you print them out.
Print
and,
all
like,
these,
go on this computer and like print them out, and I'm like looking around and people like looking over at my computer like, what the fuck is that? That's so weird.
We did some weird stuff, and you know, just things like that we would always do for each other, and send nice letters. We'd write each other letters all the time. Lots of stuff like that. That's just movie type stuff that we would do. But that really helped. I think just showing little things. You know, he would come to visit and you'd have candy ready or just little things.
Well, she came to visit, and then she had to go to Sydney for a shoot or Byron Bay or whatever. So she like left, but one of her suitcases are there. So then I like wrote all these like little notes and then like hid them all.
So I'd find them later. But yeah.
It was just things
like that. You just, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
How did you make sure you were always communicating and working things out? How was your relationship while you were apart? How is it different now? Relationships and other things. One of the biggest things I felt like in this relationship was that we had to communicate, because
I'm not very good at that.
Because we already have the distance and all that sort of stuff. So then if there's going to be like an argument, or one person's upset or something, like, and you're not communicating, you just like, it's just not going to work.
Goes downhill.
Yeah, exactly. Because you can't spend that time together. You're not going to be able to like give them a hug or a kiss to make them feel better. So the biggest thing you have to do is like be able to communicate and talk to them.
Yeah.
And
I'm a runner.
out.
I'm a runner. I run away from an argument, and I run, and then I take my time, and then I like talk about it. But you can't really do that when you can't just like turn your phone off for like a day.
Well, you did.
I did. Anyway,
there was times where, you know, obviously it's just like any other relationship, and then being long distance, you know, it plays with your mind. So you get upset about things, or, you know,
a little thing will turn into this massive argument, and you don't even know why you're fighting, but you're upset, you're frustrated.
Yeah.
You can't just like give a hug and then you feel better. Like any like other relationship, you know, a simple hug can like fix everything. You can't do that, so then you're frustrated on top of being mad, and you know, it's just a little thing can really turn into something huge. So
I think so. I mean, it just took a lot of work, and it's still something you have to work on. Like communication's always something you just have to keep working on. And
I mean, it didn't really get any easier.
Yeah.
It kind of just got harder because you have frustrations of wanting to see each other and wanting all this distance to be over with, so then that creates more fights, and then you're missing out on things like family birthdays or holidays that you can't just fly over, so you have to see it through a phone, and you know, it's just a lot of things kind of pile. And I mean, we just kind of knew our end goal and had to just
that was one of the big things that we always said, is like, you know, yeah, this is difficult now. Yeah, this is going to be tough, but, you know, at the end of the day, it's going to be worth it. And
that was our main thing. It's going to be worth it.
That's like what I held on to the most, you know, because I knew she was worth it, and I'd do anything for her. So
we did it.
Yeah, that's what we had to do.
Kind of.
But yeah, I mean, communication, you just always have to work on it.
Even if you don't want to.
Yeah.
Like me.
Even if it's like, you know, wait, like, go away and then come back and talk about it.
Yeah.
But
we're learning that still.
How did you maintain trust and confidence in your relationship without seeing each other often?
Another one I struggled with.
I mean, that's just another tough one.
That's just an issue in general with relationships, and when you add distance and not seeing each other and
but
all
I think
of that.
like just being honest with each other, and then going back to communication. Like if you communicate everything and you talk about everything, then, you know, if something's like making you feel weird or off, then you can just talk about it.
You just say it. You don't hold it in.
You know, they can either be like, no, you're being ridiculous.
Yeah.
Or,
that's one thing we're really good at. We're like, okay, you're being ridiculous, stop. And then we're kind of like, okay, you're probably right.
Yeah, so like, I mean, just comes down to communication, trust, like, you just have to be honest with each other. And
I mean, were you jealous while apart? How'd you deal with it? I'm probably more jealous than anybody. But more of just, I think it was more of the jealousy of like people getting to spend time with him and I couldn't. Was, I guess, the hard part. I wasn't like jealous of like, I don't even know what, being around other girls or that. It was more of just, I was really jealous that people were spending time with him and getting to see him, and like they could just see him whenever they wanted and I couldn't, and you know. It's
like a hard thing because, you know, in one instance you're jealous or whatever, but like there's nothing, it's not like I couldn't have done anything to like change that. It's like I'm not doing it to hurt you or out of spite or anything. I'm just trying to live life.
Well, and it got harder the closer he knew he was going to be leaving. Everyone wants to see him and spend time with him, and I'm like, oh, you're almost here, I want to like, you know, and so that got even harder because more people are wanting to say goodbye and spend more time. But then, like,
the more time that you spend with other people, then the less you can, like, talk to each other. Or
back to the first problem.
But then there's, like, that presents, like, another issue is, like, some friends who are, like, getting upset because I'm on the phone all the time, but, like, you know, you
become that person like this.
So then, like, how do you keep both parties happy?
You just can't keep everybody happy.
Difficult things. So... And how do you deal with them? I don't know, because to be honest, it's just a tough thing.
You have to have really understanding friends and family who just know, and they have to just be okay.
I don't think anyone ever really understands, because
you don't understand until you go through it. Yeah. How often did you see each other? I think maybe we tried to once a month.
Yeah, it was almost every month.
Sometimes
we'd see
we
each
went,
other for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So it was
I think
about
once we went almost 2 months. But mostly we only went like 4 weeks at a time without seeing each other. And then we'd see each other for like 2 weeks or a week and a half. How much time do you spend together now? How would you transition from long distance to 24/7 together? I mean, so now we basically spend 24/7?
Well, that was the other thing. So, like, we'd be apart, but then when we were together, we were just together non-stop.
Yeah, because you, like, share a car and you, like, do everything together.
Yeah.
So it's, like, kind of two opposite ends of the spectrum, which was kind of weird.
So we kind of already... I mean, I feel like even though we did long distance for a year, the time we actually spent together is probably...
more than normal people.
Yeah, than in a normal relationship. Because, like, a normal relationship, you work, like, 9 hours a day or whatever.
Hang out a little
home,
bit.
you might hang out on the night, or you might hang out just on weekends, or like whatever. But like we just spent just every minute of every day together, like.
Yeah.
So.
But I mean, even now, when he like moved over, and then now we're married, like we share a car. So we have to really talk about, okay, well I need the car this time. I need it for this. Okay, well then I'll wait till you get back. Like, we have to do that kind of stuff now. So. It's taken a while for us to really figure it out. Yeah, because right at the beginning you're like, oh my god, like he like moved in with me, and then we'd like put our stuff places. Luckily, we moved into a new place together a couple months after he moved over, so we had kind of a new space for us to kind of just start our new life together. So that really helped. Not everyone can do that, and that's fine. It just kind of worked out with my lease and everything. So. That.
But then we just had to navigate with like, when is like too much time together. When. And
I'm fine with like no alone time because I don't know. I guess I just don't need it as much.
Her downtime is like watching movies or like doing something like that. Whereas like I like to play video games or whatever.
Or go to the gym. So now we have kind of figured out a system of like, kind of. We're still working on it. It's not really easy, and life changes so much that you can't really just have like, this is my alone time right now. Sometimes we need to do stuff right then. Like, it's just we're working on being flexible with our schedules, and sometimes we get to a point where we haven't had any alone time apart for like weeks, and then we have a breakdown.
Or we spend all that time together, but it's like work, or it's like doing other things. So it's not like quality time where we just get to like enjoy each other.
So we have to like figure out when we can just actually be a couple and hang out instead of answering emails and editing and talking about work stuff. Like, it just kind of is nonstop with what we do. So still figuring that out. Like, we still are working on it, and it's been.
I think like everything's always just a process.
Yeah.
With
so
relationships, just always like
you just
working on things and.
Yeah, every relationship has
compromising and.
Yeah.
I feel like, I mean, we're just best friends, and we love hanging out together, and that was like probably one of the biggest things. So we love spending time together, and then
and we have different interests, which is fine.
Yeah, even though we like doing
the same things.
Some different things apart or whatever, like we like to spend majority of the time together. So us going from like apart to together all the time was like just the best thing ever.
Yeah, like the worst things that we have to work through are much better than the distance that we had to go through. Like nothing can compare to the pain of how that felt compared to like fights that we have now or arguments or just things we're working through. Literally nothing is as bad as like the long distance that we have already like gone through. So
what would be your advice to someone in a long distance relationship or someone beginning one? I guess like we kind of covered
communication
in little things. It's just like communicate, be honest, like from the start.
Even if it's horrible, be honest.
The other thing is like it's gonna take both of you.
Yeah.
So like you both have to be willing to work. You both have to, be willing to sacrifice. You both have to be honest, and you both have to communicate.
Camera's freaking. Okay. I mean, it also takes both people. A lot of people are like messaging us wanting advice. Well, he wants to end it. I don't know. You can't force someone to stay with you. You can't force someone to talk to you.
Yeah, if someone doesn't want to do the long distance, then
sometimes some people cannot handle it, and that's just the type of person that you are.
And then I I also wouldn't advise you to like then drop everything and try to move there, because if they're not willing to make it work long distance, then you know what's to say like if one little argument or something happens, they're probably going to run again. So
I mean, trust me, we argued, can't do this, I can't do this anymore. Like, we've had all of those moments, but then, you know, after we're just like, but I don't want anyone else. Like, there's nothing else I'd want more. So you end up.
You just have to weigh it up. Like, is it going to be worth it?
Yeah.
In the end, have like a plan, like, or like an end game, like.
We had like a timeline of when we wanted to move, and.
Well, and our end game was kind of like I'll move to LA and we'll be together and we'll get married, and like that's what we wanted to do.
And like we had to save, we had a lot of plans that we talk about constantly, and we still do now. It's just different kind of plans that we were planning for.
Because it was like, you know, eventually I'm gonna have to like quit my job, sell my car, move over, do all these things. So
all the visa paperwork, like everything costs money to move. Yeah. Everything, you know, we work a lot, we save, we, you know, have to spend money certain places. So you have to be a team. You have to do everything together, talk about it. We have to talk about money. It's just things that you don't normally want to talk about. You know, you have to talk about and be open about it. Otherwise, it's not going to get done. It's not going to get talked about. And you just have to do it together. That way, later on down the road, it's easier to talk about because you've already been doing it for like 2 years. So. Yeah, I mean, anything else?
I think
we've covered a lot of it. Yeah, I mean, we're still working on things. Now we're married. We have to worry about new things, being married, combining things, and living together forever. You know, and you have to adjust.
Going through the visa process and.
Oh, that's a whole nother, the visa process for being married and living here. So every couple has different things that they're going to have to go through. This is what we had to do. And, you know, good luck to everybody.
But I wouldn't change a thing.
Would never. It's the best thing that we've ever done. I never thought in a million years I would do a long distance relationship. I always joked when I'd watch these movies and I'm like, oh, that's horrible. I could like never. I'm not a sane person to like be able to do that. But like, takes the right blood.
Well, and it's funny because I always thought, and this might be a bit of myself, but I always thought, you know, my life was destined for more than just, you know, working IT and stuff. And I didn't see myself living in Canberra. And so it's just funny how things worked out, and now I live in, you know, LA, which I love, and with someone that, you know, I couldn't have even imagined being with, like my best friend, and she's so beautiful. So
yeah, that's our story. Long distance.
Yeah.
There it is.